Hello and welcome to Steven University. This week we are finally discussing the Steven Universe Comic Con panel and trailer and all of the related announcements. There was some extra stuff that we weren't expecting being announced as well, a few little bits and bobs, which I thought was nice. We'll get to those a bit later. But we should probably... do we start with the trailer or do we start with the panel?
I think let's start with the panel. Because I'd like to say the lady who plays Peridot, what's her name again?
Shelby Rivara.
Shelby Rivara. I'd like to just say hi to Shelby. Because it felt like she's listening. Because it just felt like all of your sort of anything you critiqued her on last year, like you was kind of say she didn't particularly dive deep this year. Like immediately, she's like. So the time skip, and how come Lapis doesn't recognise Bismuth when Bismuth was the one that poofed her? Like I was like, oh, amazing! Like,
yeah, I mean,
fully going in for it.
Yeah, I think I think that feedback was taken on board, and the solution was simple: go to Twitter for questions. She, and to be fair, look, and I never ever said that she was like.
No, you didn't.
My comments were that I didn't think it was. She wasn't looking at it from a fan perspective. She was just it was about for her. It was just having fun with her friends on stage. They were just talking nonsense. Yeah. But the problem is, you line up for hours. You want to be able to get the questions, and every minute she was doing that was taking time away from questions that would be asked by the audience, which turned out to be pretty worthless this year. To be honest with you, so many people asking questions about the movie. Stop it! The reason the Twitter questions were the best part of that panel is because they're questions about episodes that have already aired that they can discuss and answer. Why? Why? If the question starts in the movie, don't ask it. They're not going to answer. So much wasted time in the Q&A.
I loved when Estelle was like, "These are some spoiler questions, fam."
Yeah, my favorite was when she just kept taking drinks, and then when someone asked Rebecca a spoiler question, she handed Rebecca her drink. That was my favorite comedy moment from the whole panel. It was Estelle casually handing Rebecca a drink.
It was a really good panel.
It was a good panel.
How close they all are, and it was. I had a lot of fun listening to it. I thought some interesting. So for me, I found one of the most fascinating answers was the Bismuth Lapis answer.
I've got the quote written down. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah. Read the quote.
Yeah. So she was asked that exact question, as Chris hinted at, Lapis being pally with Bismuth, which is funny because then that came back up in through the trailer. But obviously they showed up at the end of Change Your Mind kind of pally as well. So her answer was, it would be impossible not to become best friends with Bismuth instantly. She's the best friend anyone could ever ask for. And Lapis didn't get a good look at who poofed her, and Bismuth poofed probably many, homeworld Lapises over the course of the war. Not to diminish being poofed, which is terrible, but she was picked up by homeworld gems, then put in a mirror and interrogated for information about the crystal gems. So Lapis has had it very hard, but it is difficult for her to know where to direct her anger. It's a really good answer.
A great answer. And one that doesn't confirm they're not dealing with that storyline, but I kind of got the impression maybe they weren't.
I took the opposite. I took that to mean that's absolutely coming up, but what they've done is set up it's the first part of it is the bit that's really clear. Lapis didn't get a look at who poofed her, and Bismuth poofed probably many, homeworld Lapises over the course of the war. That to me is them going, and they don't know yet. Neither of them know or aware yet. But it's a bit like saying, I'm going to put that in my back pocket because neither of them are aware of it. That it's not coming up anytime soon, for sure, is what I got from that answer. But that does not mean it's not being dealt with at some point, because you wouldn't back pocket it the way she did there. She's very clearly stated that basically neither of them realise yet. And then maybe feeling concerned she'd given too much away, that was something they were going to do. She then obviously went on to explain even more further that it's quite a complicated thing anyway, because while Bismuth was a part of her trauma, one small part of a wider trauma, and could she really put all that on Bismuth anyway? So, a lot of interesting stuff there, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. Stephen being 16 confirmed?
Yeah. 2 years moved on, which makes Connie, I think... I feel bad because Cram did the math and I don't have it in front of me, but I think that makes Connie 14 and 3/4 or 15, just because Steven's about to turn 17, so she might be 15. That's it.
I didn't realize Connie. I thought Connie was older. But
No, Connie is younger than Stephen. The reason that was the premise of that episode, wasn't it? I think it was. I forget which one it was now. It was the one where it was Stephen's birthday.
So many birthdays.
Was it? I think it was so many birthdays, and they. Oh no, because isn't so many birthdays the one where he gets older and younger?
Oh, is that not the one you were talking about?
No, there's two. There's one that's him and the gems, and he gets worried about aging, and he ends up getting really old and like decrepit, and they have to sort of like. But there's another one where he's with Connie and Mr. Universe. God, Greg shows them his like the photos from his last few birthdays, and he hasn't aged at all. And that's when you find out he's actually older than Connie, but he looks Connie's age because he just doesn't seem to be aging.
I thought in my head they were exactly those two things happened in the same episode, but I'm probably completely wrong on that.
I thought it was two separate episodes because that's the one where he gets the one hair to shave. I think I can't remember.
Yeah, at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it might be the same episode. It might not. Honestly, it's possible both answers are accurate. So we'll just assume it's that or the other. Yeah. It's one or the other of those. So in that episode, Connie describes herself as being younger than Stephen. That's the revelation, is that she assumed they were similar ages, I think, but then discovers that he's actually a year or two older than her. And the reason she assumed that is because he has been perpetually 11 visually for a long time, or something around that mark. And then obviously now he's had a bit of a growth spurt. You could argue because he's half gem, his growth doesn't work like a human's. It's not just time.
Yeah, that was my assumption.
Yeah, it's not just time; it's emotional growth, and we established that early in the show when he had the horror birthday where his body aged up. And my favorite part of that, I'll always remember this, is when he went to go get a job and he just thought getting a T-shirt with a job name on it was the answer. Such a great episode, such a good gag. But I seem to remember that episode taking place on the beach, at Beach City, along the boardwalks. And I seem to recall the episode where it's with Connie and they're discussing his age, and he tries to shapeshift himself, being a bit taller. That one, pretty sure, is set around the barn, which is why I think they're two separate episodes. But again, I could be
fair enough.
I could be wrong.
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I thought that was the cool confirmation, and that plays into the trailer discussion. Then I suppose what do you think too? Because I mean, this could almost, we will try and do it in one, but it could almost be a two-parter. Because obviously there's so much stuff to conceptually analyze in the panel. So what did you think of Rebecca Sugar describing fusion as the closest human thing to it is like
having a baby? Yeah, I wrote that. I wrote a bit of that quote down, not the whole thing, because at that point I was like, I'm not. Her first answer to the Bismuth thing, which has been so long, I was like, I'm not going to write everything down, but I did write down part of it, which something to understand about fusions. They're a manifestation of the relationship between characters. So whatever Pearl and Garnet shared with each other within their relationship is what sardonyx would know. She also used a metaphor, as Chris referenced there, about it being like almost like the child of the two people. I think that obviously was a metaphor rather than like literal, but I think what she was, because the question she'd been asked that led to that sentence was, how come other gems didn't find out about the truth about Pink and Rose when they fused with Pearl? And she was essentially saying that because the individual they become when they fuse is a completely separate individual, they can only be imbibed with information shared between those two people, because that is what that gem is, and that's why it works best when two people know each other really well. She sort of said it's like when you have a kid and you invest your information into it and your sort of life story and lessons, to the child. I thought it was a really interesting analogy, and I thought it really well explained how fusions work, and it also does cover that, not plot hole, but that thing a lot, because I always knew there'd be some sort of reasonable explanation for how that functioned, and and why that wasn't a thing. So it was nice to have it confirmed. I don't know if they'll ever go into it in the show. That description, I think, was a very flowery way to say it. I don't know how much that tells. Do you think that tells us anything beyond just what the point she was trying to make? I mean, because to me, I kind of thought like, oh, that metaphor about it being like a kid is just to help illustrate the point. But do you think there might be more to what she's getting at there?
No, I don't think there's more to it. I just thought it was interesting because I'd sort of pictured it in my head. It was more like, them controlling the robot in Pacific Rim, where sort of two people are both hooked up, but it's it's like two people driving a car. That's kind of how I always saw fusion in my head. So to hear it described so differently, I just thought was interesting.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think because of Stavoni, though, for me, and I guess this is just because of like, well, I don't know what the reason my mind went this way instead, but I think Stavoni's such an individual, like, and such a person onto themselves. You kind of go like, I guess that's how fusion is then, because Stavoni doesn't seem like a being driven by Stephen and Connie. Stavoni feels like a character in the show separate to the others. We've had a lot more time with Stavoni than we have with the other fusions, I feel.
Well, apart from Garnet, obviously, who again feels like very much Garnet.
Yeah, I suppose it's a really good point, actually. Yeah, you've sometimes, it's easy to forget, isn't it? Yeah.
But that proves your point as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that I always sort of, that's kind of, not exactly how I saw it, like in terms of how memories work. Like it had to be something you've shared between each other for it to be part of it. But I always sort of saw them as separate individuals that that represent the relationship of those two people. So I guess it wasn't. It sort of lined up with how I already felt about fusion, if that makes sense.
That's fair enough. Another highlight for me of the panel was when they were asked what their favourite ship was, and I think it was the actress who plays Amethyst was just like the ship that Yellowtail owns.
Yeah, Michaela Dietz. Yeah, she knocked that one out of the park. There were so many very funny moments in the panel. Like I said, that and then the drinking her tea every time someone asked her a spoiler question, and then handing Rebecca sugar. The comedic timing of Estelle to like. Rebecca Sugar goes, it's a great question, and you can see her like going, oh shit, how do I answer this without it being a spoiler? And then literally she just grabs, like Estelle just leans over, picks up her water and hands it to her.
And I think that was the question about seeing more fusions, and I definitely got the vibe from that there's going to be some new fusions in the movie.
You have hit on something I wrote down. New fusions. Yeah. This is a direct quote from Rebecca Sugar. Please watch the movie for the answer to that question. It's answered. Yeah. It's answered loudly.
Yeah.
It's answered loudly.
That's exciting.
We're getting a new fusion. Speculation now, Chris. I honestly, part of me has wondered if it could be Stephen and Greg.
Oh, blimey. Well, they do look very in sync in that clip when they're singing and he's got the guitar and stuff. That's
what I thought. That was my first. Yeah. That was my first immediate thought, because I don't think, because look, the most realistic fusion to do is to do something to do with lapis peridot and bismuth. That's the bismuth. That's the most sensible combination of people to do a fusion with, because they're the remaining gems we haven't seen do fusions like really. But as we discussed like last week or the week before, there's a lot of story in any of them fusing. A huge amount of character stuff that would go into them fusing. So it kind of makes me go, I don't want to see it now. Then again, didn't fucking stop them in Change Your Mind, did it? So,
no.
Shrug. Who knows? I did speculate that maybe it could be all of the gems. So you've got Obsidian for when it's the core 4 crystal gems. What happens if, the 4 crystal gems and the crystal temps all fuse at the same time?
Yeah, that would be cool. I suppose you gotta keep something back though. I think Stephen and Greg's a great answer.
Yeah, that was my honest to God first thought, because they for the exact logic you used as soon as I said it, which is that they look very in sync playing guitar in that moment. And I've not got that I've not got the shot in front of me. I can bring it up quickly, and I'm going to probably, because is the sky dark in that shot or not? Because is that post
it's
or
like
pre?
A pinky red color, isn't it?
Because I was trying to oh no, that's from this light from the fire. It just looks like it's nighttime. Yeah, which a lot of this seems to take place at night. That's really difficult. I was wondering if it was light and daytime during that shot, I would say it's from pre, shit going down, and therefore they wouldn't be fusing. But looking at it, Steven's got the bags under his eyes, his jacket's torn. It's at night. I think that's mid chaos. I think that could be it.
I reckon so.
It could be it.
Write down, Cram.
Yeah.
Credit that one to both of us.
And I will say that I don't think like, and I think now we've seen the trailer, we can say with absolute certainty that we were on the right track when we questioned Zach about the voice. Like the voice in this trailer matches the voice from that Your Mother and Mine
plus
story so far video.
But what we well, have you got anything else to say on the panel?
I have some notes. I was going to quickly flick through them. Oh, there's one other little note, but we'll finish what you were going to say there first.
No, because I was going to move on to the movie. So say the last.
Okay. Well, just the last little thing was that from the poster, obviously there were two flags outside of the temple that were noticed, and then they were noticed in an enlarged version of it on the Comic Con floor, in a bit more detail. And someone asked Rebecca what they were, and she had a very straightforward and simple answer, which is just they're one's for Homeworld, one's for Earth. They were flags for Homeworld and Earth. I thought that was a really nice moment.
Yeah, I thought it was really sweet, and especially the way she was just immediately like, one's for Earth, one's for Homeworld. Like, it was almost a relief that she could answer a question.
Yeah. Oh, and I've got one other little tidbit as well, actually. Stevonnie. She talked about Stevonnie because someone asked this question. I loved, by the way, because this one's because they said you don't have to tell me if they do, but are Stevonnie capable of fusing with another gem? Because that's an interesting question that actually, honestly, never occurred to me. I don't think it had anyway. In the moment, I was like, oh, wow, yeah, that's a really good question. Because with Stevonnie being one half human, could Steven, by fusing with Connie first, then pull Connie into a wider fusion of even more gems?
Yeah, I think so, because at the end of the day, she fused with Steven. That was the one, because it wasn't, when I was like, I don't think that's happening from the Lapis Bismuth thing. That wasn't the question that made me like, I don't think we're getting that. It was this question. Because Rebecca Sugar in the response talked about how Stevonnie is learning to be,
independent,
their own person.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're getting that.
Yeah, Stevonnie is probably capable of fusing with gems.
I think it's possible
with other gems.
I don't think
but
we're getting it.
They're such a strong individual, they don't need anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So there you go. That's like all the stuff from the panel itself. Other than they did perform 2 songs, which they released separately rather than in the actual main panel video, which is kind of annoying. But they did Love Like You, and then they did the song from the trailer. So we can move straight on to the trailer if you'd like, Chris.
Well, do you like the songs, first of all?
Should we talk about the song? Should we do the song before we hit the trailer? Yeah, I love the song. I think the song is absolutely spectacular.
I think they're great.
I think Estelle is doing she's Estelle. She's great. Like, she's a very, very unique tone and approach to the rhythm and cadence of when she sings. Makes it very hard to like mimic. And I will say, like, it makes all her songs more unique than any of the others. Even when the music to a song that Garnet sings is stylistically similar to other songs that have come before it, they always feel so different. Stronger Than You, Here Comes a Thought, and this new one, which I think is called True Kind of Love. Really different. And credit to Cartoon Network, because they really thought that through. The panel went out, and before the panel was even, I think, completely finished, that song was on Spotify, officially.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it had gone up that quickly. That's cool.
Like, it was amazing. Also, I'm pretty sure somebody sent me a link to that full song before I was able to get to the full trailer without seeing it in potato quality.
It was also awesome to get... their video of the panel is so, like, there's good camera. I unfortunately didn't get to watch it all in order to hear it in time. I had to, like, listen to the later half rather than watch. So, I listened to it whilst walking to work. But I was so impressed by the quality of it, especially because it sucks just having to trawl through fan shot stuff that goes in and out of audio and, like, cut stuff off because they're not sure. Because even the trailer, they keep in the video. And I was like, it was when the trailer hit, I was like, oh, they're probably going to cut away from this and just cut back to the screaming. Yeah. And they didn't. Like,
they literally edited the full HD trailer into the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool thing. Because it doesn't interrupt the flow of it. as much. Credit to Cartoon Network, because for a minute I was cursing, which actually was quite funny, because we have multiple threads to discuss Steven Universe on the Discord. So there's one for Steven Universe spoilers, and that basically you can spoil anything that's officially been released. But if you're the sort of person who's behind because you've not seen the panel, you've not seen the trailer yet, or if while new episodes are airing, the idea of that channel is you can avoid getting spoilers for the thing that's just aired, right? Then there's a leaks channel, and that's for anything unofficial we've gotten ahead of time. So when the trailer launched, there was a potato quality version of it in the Steven Universe leaks thread, which is where it was therefore being discussed, because that's where it had been posted. And then I go on this massive rant about how it's embarrassing and incompetent that they've not released it. Why would you not take advantage of the hype? Why would you not get those free clicks? Right now, all of the potato quality versions are getting all the clicks that Cartoon Network will ultimately want. All the likes, all the views. They're just throwing it away by not putting it up, by leaving us just with this version. And I was actively angry because I was just like, that is so stupid. Just as a fan of the show, missed marketing opportunities piss me off because I want it to do well, right? I want that hype. And we talked just an episode or two ago about people not really knowing this exists.
Yeah.
So I was really angry. But what I didn't know is the whole time that I was ranting, pretty much, in the SU spoilers thread, the full quality version had been posted. And I was just in the other thread bitching about how we didn't have a proper quality copy. So
that's amazing.
Credit to Cartoon Network for putting it up, and for putting up both the songs, and for putting the song officially, the full studio version of the song on Spotify, and the trailer all out there in HD, like 10 points, like absolutely swinging out the park. Unlike, Marvel, who fucking shat the bed with the footage they put up. We'll come to that when we talk about the Marvel panel. Next on our next Nothing But Static, come back to the wherever podcasts are sold for Nothing But Static coming Sunday. We'll get to that. But yeah, credit to Cartoon Network for putting the whole thing together. I thought they did a wonderful job.
Yeah, I agree. So the trailer itself, Daniel.
Yeah. Yes.
Whoa. Let's address an area that we speculated a lot about that seems to have been confirmed.
Yes.
Doesn't appear to be a musical a la Les Miserables. It doesn't appear to be constant singing. Thoughts?
Yes. Yeah. I think there's proper scenes. But with that said though, Chris, something she said, I saw the trailer and thought that, and that I didn't get to see that they didn't put the panel up until the day after, I don't think. So I only saw the trailer and heard a few tidbits from the panel initially, right? So what you just said was my thinking. And then I watched the panel, and there was one sentence that made me doubt myself. And I didn't write it down, but there's a moment when Rebecca Sugar said that they were practicing secretly for this all along. Mr. Greg was one example of them practicing for this, and I thought, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. How many songs can you fit into a time frame? Can you tell a story through song? How effective is that? Perfect. What a great little test. And then she highlighted, and I was like, well, it can't be this though, because in this we know there's like dialogue, because we can hear it in the trailer, so it's not going to be quite like Mr. Greg. And then she said the second test was for Just One Day, Let's Only Think About Love, and that is a song. That's a song.
Oh, and then, of course, yeah.
And then the music carries on, but they stop singing and they have scenes while the music sort of undercuts it, and then we carry on with the song. How much of this movie is going to be that? That is a different approach. Doesn't rule out it being music top to bottom, though, does it?
Yeah, I'd love to know how many songs are in it.
Yeah, we were doing some speculation on that in the Discord again, and my estimate is still pretty low because I still think there's scenes. I don't think it's going to be songs top to bottom. So my estimate is still somewhere around sort of like 14. I thought somewhere between 14 and 16.
I reckon nearer 20. Considering there was 7 in Mr. Greg, I reckon nearer 20.
Yeah. And I did say high-end prediction was 20 on the Discord, but again, I'm sticking with my actual... My conservative prediction, I think it's going to be around 14. So yeah, but we'll soon see. There'll be track listings, I'm sure. Frustratingly, the problem with doing a musical movie is the music will inevitably find its way onto the internet before the movie does, and we're going to have to all play "Resist" the song because it's going to have mega spoilers all over it.
Of course.
It's just the nature of these things, isn't it? Music always seems to leak. I guess because it's such small files, it's easy to smuggle them out in a reasonable quality. Whereas now, full episode,
they end up on Spotify, like "Change Your Mind" songs did.
Oh, now that is a fear. But then again, see, now I thought that's inevitable because that's just what's going to happen. Because they're going to set it like they did with "Change Your Mind." They're going to set it to come out on midnight and the day that it's released. But of course, Australia get to midnight on the day it's released before the episode airs. So then you end up with this weird situation where the songs are available online prior in Australia prior to any other prior to it airing. But they did the panel. And during the panel, released True Kind of Love on Spotify, so there is some level of timing control.
Yeah, that's true.
So either they didn't know that or didn't care with Change Your Mind, but they certainly had enough forethought to sort it out for this. So my assumption, fingers crossed, is that they'll either set it to release the day after, or they'll time it with the release of the show.
Is 6 p.m. the time it usually airs?
Yes.
Okay, no, I didn't know. I got the impression, I know this is still panel, we will come to trailer. I got the impression from the way she told the story of going to work with Chance the Rapper on some of the music that our theories on a lot of the musicians being collaborators as opposed to performers is probably true.
Mm. Yeah, almost certainly. With one exception, we'll come to in a little bit. I've got a theory about something we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, I think I got that impression too. And I think that fits and it makes sense. And look, wouldn't it be cool to have like Chance the Rapper voice a random fusion? Yeah, of course it would be. That would be freaking awesome. But, let's be realistic and not like aim for the stars. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was
and I don't want to end up in a Nicki Minaj situation either.
Exactly. Or an Opal Amy Mann situation. This is Sugalite and Opal have both not been around much, and that's been the reason. So like, you've got to, sometimes you've got to take the good with the bad. And while that would be awesome, and I would like cheer and do a little jig if that happens. I think that would be awesome. I think it'd be a lot of fun to have any of those collaborators appear as voices. I think the smart way to include them, if you are going to include them, is to give them like the voices of random townies and stuff. Like just like backgroundy sort of like one-off characters.
Yeah.
That aren't going to have to say anything ever again. Yeah. Let's get to the trailer then. So the opening shot of the trailer. I mean, it's our new Gemtown. Our new Crystal Gemtown. There's a big star in the plaza, in the foyer. Not the foyer, in the sort of like the open area right before that sort of like tall wind turbine building. There's little gem things everywhere. There's still cranes, suggesting it's still under construction. And another thing suggesting it's still under construction is what Stephen in Amethyst has stood on is a being craned in warp pad, which it turns out, underneath, look like a little mushroom. It's a little mushroom.
Yeah, I thought that was quite a striking visual, and really like it did make you just want to pause and dissect.
Yeah, I've got this frame in front of me, and like I can see a clock tower. I can see several little houses. There's a shot a little bit later in the trailer of the town that reveals that Bismuth has a place to live there, or at least a shop of a sort, which is pretty neat. We'll come to that in a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the look of it. I like that no two buildings seem to be alike. There's no uniformity to it at all. It's just utter chaos. It's like there's some quite standard buildings. Then there's these weird like diamond-shaped buildings, and like one building that seems to be at like a weird right angle. Like I don't know. There's a lot of weird shaped stuff, and I kind of love it. Like they've not taken to the traditional ideas of architecture. That's for sure.
No, and it would just make it really, and especially if, working on the assumption that the seasons beyond the movie take place beyond the movie, it really will define the show in two eras. It's going to be so aesthetically different.
Yeah, I would agree. What did you think to the opening line that sort of suggests that Steven's been off for working really hard for the past 2 years, helping all of the other colonized planets be free?
Well, I was like, it's because we were spitballing that would be a potential storyline, the other planets. So it was like, potentially they've burnt through that quite quickly. I also don't love the idea of him being away from town for 2 full years. because of his relationship with his dad and Connie and stuff. Yeah, I thought it was interesting though. It all depends on how they set the new status quo and what the new status quo is. If they do something cool with the fact that he's been doing that, great. If they don't, I'm going to be a bit like, oh, it's a shame we didn't get to see that.
Sorry, Nadia's just brought me a drink. Thank you, Nadia. She's like, so what is it, a Coke Zero? That's exciting. Thank you. It's very hot. She's come in. I've actually taken my arm out of my shirt. My arm's out of my shirt. And I'm just sort of like sitting here, like with a shirt dangling around my neck because I am boiling. So she was trying, I guess, not to laugh at me for that when she stuck her head through the door. She's shaking her head. I disagree. Thank you for bringing me a drink. She's trying not to disturb me. Well, you were very good at that, and I'm sorry that I've inadvertently pulled you into the podcast. I disturbed myself. I did. That's what my teachers used to tell me as well. Anyway, sorry. Now I've got 3 drinks. I'm excited, Chris.
Nice. I've got one.
One of them's much colder than the others, though, so I'm leaning into that.
I got 1 glass of ice, which I'm going to noisily bite now.
Oh, mate, you've been doing that for the whole for the whole podcast.
No, I know, but now I'm acknowledging. I have been resisting. I got a whole shitload of ice that's just melting, and I'm like, I better stop.
I think what's interesting about it is we don't get the full time scale of it. In terms of he's obviously been working for 2 years at a certain level of peace, and this seems to be him signing off to Gem Homeworld and sort of saying, "Look, you're in a good place. I'm backing out for at least a little while. I'm a well-earned break. A little bit like the start of Spider-Man: Homecoming. He's like, I've just saved the world, or been part of saving the world. Can I just give me a couple of weeks? Let me just chill out with my friends." But what I'm wondering about that is, like, okay, that's him marking we've achieved so much that I feel like you guys have got it now and you don't need me guiding it anymore. So this is me permanently sort of heading back to Earth to spend time with my family and stuff. But that doesn't, I suppose, mean that he hasn't been on and off doing that and back and forth between Earth the 2 years.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't mean he's literally been off-world solidly for 2 years. What I probably suspect it's going to turn out to be is more like, oh, he spent 2 weeks on such a planet, then he was 2 weeks home, 2 weeks on such a planet, 2 weeks home. So he was like, it was like his job, like he was going away on business. That I hope it was that, because otherwise, like you, I have concerns about like this idea that he's going to come home and these people are going to be like, one of the greatest strengths of this show is how much these people love each other and care for each other. And look, it doesn't matter how strong your relationship with a person is. 2 years apart, it's going to take a little while to adjust to 2 years is not a short amount of time. You're going to be different, and particularly at such an important age as Steven's at, So, yeah, we'll see. I like that shot. I like both those shots actually. He's clearly leaving this message for the homeworld. There's 2 shots. There's one of like what is clearly a gem colony on another planet with some gems I don't quite recognize. One at the front, there's an aquamarine type gem. 2 of them, one next to the other, and one appears to be sort of like a yellow or green aquamarine, which I think is called Heliodor. So aquamarine can't be in any of the colors. Aquamarine is specifically the blue version of that kind of gem, which a beryl apparently. It's a kind of gem called a beryl. Emerald is equally a beryl. But apparently there's a yellow beryl called Heliodor. So it's possible that aquamarine at the front with another yellow aquamarine, it could be that it's Heliodor, but I don't know. There's also like looks like an off-color peridot in that shot. But yeah, so there's a bunch of gems. They're on like an alien planet that we've never seen before, and there's a really cool piece of architecture with a little gem on top, and it actually looks like a giant version of a destabilizer. I don't know if you noticed that in the background of the shot, Chris.
No, I'm looking at it now though. It looks pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And then obviously there's the shot of Steven on Homeworld, the most significant element of which, other than all 4 ships being back where they belong, but more uniformity. Yeah. The gems are not stood in perfect formation due to their color. They're all mixed up. There's pockets of yellows and pinks together, but like they seem a lot more not less. Sorry, they seem less uniform and more free to move about and mingle with each other, and I think that's really cool. That made me kind of happy.
Yeah, and I do think it shows that we talked about doing a "this is the situation now" kind of song, and I think this proves in a way that you could do it. Like, that one frame says so much about the state of play on Homeworld now.
Yes. Well, I mean, not to jump ahead, but obviously there was a trailer released as well for the documentary, which they put in the panel. You saw it in the panel, right?
I heard it. Yeah, I didn't see it.
Okay.
But I heard it.
Well, in it, she sings a song with one of the key sort of hook lyrics is "Here we are in the future," and I think "Here we are in the future" is the song we predicted last week. It's not called whatever I predicted it would be called, How Far We've Come, but "Here we are in the future" is not that far from that. So yeah, I think you absolutely knocked that one out of the park, Chris. I think your prediction of there's a song that's going to wrap up, catching us up to where we are and what's happened, is going to be "Here we are in the future." So yeah, very cool. Really cool. So next shot. What else have we got in the trailer? There's Stephen and the Gems all happy at the town doing a selfie. The second of the selfie shots, the one where you can see it on Stephen's camera, Chris, if you've got that in front of you. The building to the right is Bismuth's. It's got Bismuth's star shape from the front of her apron.
Oh, cool.
And
I didn't notice that before. That's cool.
No, I'll be honest with you, I didn't spot it until someone pointed it out to me. But they seem to be, in this shot, actually, they seem to be in that courtyard I mentioned earlier, like that star in the centre of it.
Oh, yeah.
On the ground, I've just noticed. So maybe they're bringing the warp pad to put it in the centre of that star.
Yeah, maybe. That would make sense.
Yeah. And then that's them taking a picture after they've successfully fitted the warp pad, maybe. And then obviously, you got Bismuth's little workshop in the background. I don't know if it's actually going to be Bismuth's like home or if it's just going to be a workshop, but I've just noticed the what I thought was just like the edge was just like the sort of bit where the building joins. There's actually a giant sword. I didn't even notice that. I
think maybe that. I think there's space there to be both a workshop and a home, I reckon.
Yeah, but part of me kind of wants Bismuth to live with Peridot and Lapis now. I'm such a child.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. We got a shot of Stephen and Connie hugging. Connie doesn't look a huge amount older. Stephen's now her height-ish, which is good.
Well, I think it's later on where a shot of the same scene that inspired the most reaction.
Yeah, is it the same scene? I wondered about that. I've not actually compared the backgrounds. Is it the same scene for sure?
I haven't compared, but it certainly seemed to be, because I remember when I watched it through a second time, I was like, don't they kiss? And then I was like, oh, they kiss later.
No, so that one's outside, and when there's flowers present, and when you go to the shot where the kiss happens later, they're indoors, because you can see pictures and stuff in the background. And Connie's got a bag over her shoulder, which she doesn't have in the shot from earlier.
I don't know. That kiss could easily just be interpreted as a kiss on the cheek.
Yeah, oh yeah. But it's a kiss on the cheek.
Embarrassment.
His reaction to it is more the moment than the kiss itself, I think. Yeah. But yeah, the shot of them hugging is a really interesting one because it looks like they might be. I don't know. There's two places that strikes me as either Rose's old garden, that fountain, the one where they brought all the gems back, or they've put flowers on the hand of the crystal temple. Because they're outside, but it also looks sort of homeworldy and crystal gemmy. So I don't know.
I don't know. I assumed it was a new location, like one of the town's new gemified areas.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Gemforication, we'll call it.
Nope, I figured it out. I know exactly where they are. They're in the new dome at the Crystal Temple. Those lines through the sky are the triangles. So the Crystal Temple has a dome attached to it now, which, by the way, is identical. We've since discovered, since we last talked about this from the poster, but that dome that's been attached to the temple is identical to the one from the moon base that Pink Diamond originally had. So one of two things has happened. Yeah. Either Bismuth, only really knowing gem architecture, when fixing the house, has fixed it in the gemmiest way possible and going, well, it's Pink Diamond's domicile, let's make it look like where Pink Diamond was stationed on the moon, or they've actually somehow moved it from the moon to the Crystal Temple.
I think the Bismuth theory is more likely.
Yeah, that makes most sense to me. But clearly, in that shot where he's hugging Connie in the first one, you can see the triangular pattern through the sky, suggesting it's the domed glass. So they're inside that dome, and there's flowers there, which makes me happy because that might mean that he's got some sort of garden up there, which I think is nice. So there you go.
Cool.
We've got just them just lying, chilling out, and this is when one of my favourite lines comes up in a second, which is that we got them also lying on the grass. Then the new villain gem comes up, who we'll talk about in a second. But Steven says something like, "I want my happily ever after back. Just this morning, everything was great, and now it's all turned to dust or something like that." I can't remember what the phrase is. But then he says, "And I want my happily ever after back," which is just one of the best lines of dialogue fucking ever. So good.
Essentially, I want my season finale back. Yeah, I liked that. It came a bit close to me to the whole, I wish I could stay like this forever, or whatever that line is, and I didn't love that line that much, because then for like seemingly, I got the impression that happens immediately before the attack, and it was a bit like, okay, yeah, we get it, but I might be wrong.
We'll see how it plays out in the film itself, but yeah, you could be right. That could be editing that's made that worse than it would be
definitely.
Because sometimes with trailers they put two lines together to help illustrate, an A to B plot. When in the movie they're a bit more subtle and a bit more separate. If it's literally, "I hope this never changes," and then poof, through the clouds comes evil ship, I'll be like, come on. Even for this show, that's a bit on the nose. Yeah,
exactly.
So I'm with you. That if it's that's bad. If it's the other, if it's just an editing trick and those two things are actually a bit more separate, then I think it'll probably be okay. I see your point though. I'm actually looking at it in that shot. His jacket's got looks like it might have the tear in the arm, so maybe that is just a feature of the jacket that I've not noticed previously. I'll have to look in some other shots to see if that's when that appears and when it doesn't. Oh, that seems to be there the whole time. I'm just flicking back through it. He seems to always have a little hole in his jacket, in his elbow.
Yeah, maybe that isn't some sort of fight then.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll come back to that. So then, obviously, probably the most spoilery element of this trailer then hits. So the new gem shows up in a ship. That ship is a homeworld kindergarten injector. I mean, it just is. It could not be anything else. If you see the two things compared, it's insane. It's a bigger, more modern version of a homeworld injector, but the big sort of gem shape on top, the container for the liquid that they would inject into the earth to help make gems, the drill part itself. It's hard not to understand why the biggest theory to come from this trailer, and I don't know, because you've been at a wedding all weekend, Chris. I'm not sure you'll have come across this necessarily, so this might be new for you. But the big theory to come from this trailer is that she's coming to make a new pink diamond at the expense
from Steven.
At the expense of Steven. Because maybe she's not happy with Steven's changes to the way Homeworld works, and this is her approach. She's just going to make a new pink diamond.
That theory makes sense, and that matches. She does very much seem to be after Steven.
Yeah. So I think that there's another element of the trailer we'll talk about when we skip through it. But as we get forward in the trailer, there's lots of shots of Steven looking very tired and exhausted in some way. So I think that there's somehow this process, whatever she's doing, whether it is making a new pink diamond or not, is sapping Steven of his power and strength. Because there's lots of shots of him with baggy eyes and looking very, very unkempt and looking very, very tired. So yeah, I'm interested and excited to see what that's going to be. But yeah, isn't that crazy? It's clearly it's a kindergarten injector. She's making a new gem, whatever she's doing, whether it's a replacement for pink diamond or not. That's what that device does. It's
Paradox got that line, hasn't she, about the Earth will be destroyed in 52 hours or something.
Yeah, so Paradox says that the Earth will be destroyed, and she says all organic life will be destroyed, and he's clarifying. She's like, yeah, plants, animals, people. It's one of the funniest lines of the trailer actually, because it's just that typical Paradox not giving a shit about about other humans,
not realizing at the very least.
Yeah, not realizing that that's a bad thing. So yeah, what do you think to that theory that that's what her motive is?
I like that theory. I like it a lot. I think it's also very much because I still stand by. I want this movie to be a movie, not a prologue to the new seasons. And I like the idea of an enraged Gem who doesn't agree with the new status quo rebelling and going after Stephen or going after the crystal gems. That feels very much like a movie plot, not a series arc plot.
Yeah, and coming to Earth to make a replacement
like
for and making a replacement for Pink by destroying the planet that the old Pink loves so much, and taking out that Pink at the same time seems like a very fitting, neat plan a villain might come up with.
Yeah, well, I assume maybe she's after the pink diamond and then she's going to harvest it, on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, well, so the liquid inside the injector. So if you look at the ship, the hourglass bit between the gem part and the drill part, that looks to me to be the liquid that we know is secreted from diamonds in small amounts and collected probably to help make their colonies. So the smaller injectors we see in the kindergarten will probably had a similar liquid in them at one point or another, and it was injected into the ground and then became it. So that's full of pink liquid already, which suggests that Homeworld had a certain store maybe of pink diamond juice to help make a pink diamond from. Because in a lot of the shots where things are going bad for the town, you see these, like there's one bit where the ground splits open under Steven's feet, and there's now pink liquid running through this crater. And then there's a shot later on of the injector dug into the earth, empty, no liquid at all, but lots of cracks through the town with pink liquid in that you can clearly see. That's if you're looking at the pictures.
That theory's spot on. Then that makes a whole host of sense.
Yeah, if you look at the pictures I sent you, Chris, it's picture 19. Just in case you wanted to see that one, that particular shot, it's a bit further ahead. I sent Chris a bunch of pictures before we started, by the way, people were wondering.
Yeah, that definitely analysing that shot in a bit closer detail. I failed to see how it's anything else.
Yeah, because that's the conclusion I came to, because I saw the trailer, heard that theory, went, that makes sense, without really looking too closely at the injector. And then I was thinking about that line Steven has, where he says, oh, she's here to kill me. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really fit with that. And then I've sort of gone, well, maybe he doesn't know her full planet first. Maybe that line is from an earlier point in the movie when he just thinks she's there to kill him, and then he only realizes the full scope of what her plan is later on. To literally.
But she hasn't got enough. She hasn't got enough liquid and needs to kill him to create more. Yeah, or maybe there is something she needs to take. She needs to take from him to complete the process somehow. Maybe there's something unique about a diamond where you need something from the core gem to make it happen, which is why you can't create an army of diamonds. Maybe you need to actually have something from the old one to make the new one, and that might explain maybe why he looks so weak and disheveled in several of the shots. Some people speculated that he's had his gem removed again. I don't believe he has, because there's the shot of him lifting up the drill from the earth to try and stop it, and if you freeze frame that shot, you'll see very much that his gem is glowing from under his shirt. That's picture 17, Chris. Yeah, that was also such a huge moment in Change Your Mind. I'd feel it would undermine both that moment and this moment in the movie if they did it again in the next thing we saw.
Yeah, 100% agree. Thoroughly agree. I think it's a pretty cool idea, and I can't now think of any theory that doesn't make more sense than that. I can't think of a theory that makes more sense than that. Everything seems to fit really well, so I'm sticking with that for the time being. Although it's worth knowing that is not our theory, so it doesn't need to be added to our predictions thing. That was definitely an internet thing, but once I heard it and I looked at the injector and saw the details, I was like, how can it not be?
Close the window cram. There's no need to add this one to the spreadsheet.
Yeah. So let's talk about the new gem's powers. She seems to be like a super great shapeshifter, and it's allowed them to do this really brilliant thing where she's obviously a nod to really old school cartoons. When they could in old cartoons they could sort of shapeshift and make their fist really big for certain shots and stuff. She's doing a lot of that. When her fist becomes a big spring. In the trailer, she's got these noodle spaghetti arms going on. It's a real nod to classic animated cartoons, and I just kind of love it. And I love that's her powers. I think it's great.
Yeah, between that and her design, there is something a little Looney Tunes-esque about her.
Yes,
which
especially
is
combined
really
with
cool.
the laugh.
Yeah, and so that's really cool, and like you say, I like it when they homage other animated shows. I thought she looked cool. I thought she looked threatening. I thought she was kind of like irritating, which is I think really good in a villain and not something enough people play on. Yeah.
Mm. I think that's what made Aquamarine such a powerful villain. She was irritating too. She was.
Yeah.
You didn't like Aquamarine just personality-wise. Forgetting that she was a bad guy, you found her grating before she even was a villain.
Yeah, and I think people don't do it because you for some reason you run the risk. Like I feel like people found Joffrey too irritating. They're like, I just want that character to die, and you're like, yeah, but that's the point. No, just kill him. Whereas Dolores Umbridge in Harry Potter is like the perfect example of you just hating a villain and finding them a monster, but they, still functions as a great villain. And I think this character could definitely do that.
Yeah, and like you're compelled to watch them. You're not compelled. You're compelled to watch them rather than being repulsed to not wanting to follow them.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's a really good point. There was a shot in the trailer. They've done that thing that all trailers do this, where they've strung two shots together and you think that they're one and the same, and they're not. There's a shot of her wrapping her arms around Pearl, and then a shot of her launching a body into the sky really quickly, and you assume that's one movement: grab Pearl, launch Pearl into the sky. But if you look at picture 21 I sent you, Chris, it's clearly Steven she's throwing into the sky. But when you watch the trailer in motion, you would not pick that up with your eyes at all.
But having said that, Dan, I remember you especially going on a big rant about it. We were convinced that Kylo Ren and Rey talking was not Kylo Ren and Rey talking in The Last Jedi, and it absolutely was.
That's true. That's true. We thought that the way they were talking in the trailer was just.
We were like, they're in different locations. Yeah, turns out they were.
Yeah,
they were still. Yeah, they were still having a conversation with each other.
Yeah, it didn't stop them, did it? No, but here it's literally the trailer has a shot of her wrapping her arms around Pearl, and then the next shot is her throwing a body into the sky, and it's Steven. So it's clearly two shots put together. Pretty cool though. Like I'm sure they're from the same fight.
Yeah, it does look cool. That does. I remember getting really excited about the potential action in this movie when I saw that.
Yeah, I thought so too. There's a shot of her wrapping all 4 crystal gems up, and then as we get a bit further into the trailer, we start getting shots. See, I've noticed a trend actually. I'm looking through this. There are shots with a lighter sky and shots with a night sky. And I think so I've got a theory about the structure of the film, if you'll allow me to elaborate for a moment. Because looking through the trailer, there's the shots that are clearly from late game movie, where it's dark sky, or pure pink sky. Sometimes it comes across in the shade of green, but like they're clearly end gamey stuff. Then there's the shots, where Steven looks. Those are all the shots where Steven looks tired. But then there's the shots with this sort of light pink sky. It's like it almost looks like dusk. So I'll put it on screen for the listeners. But Chris, it's number 22 of the picture I sent you. That's clearly from earlier in the movie. She is not long arrived, right? So then you go to the shot immediately following that, 23. That green and Steven's got bags under his eyes. That's late movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I think there's 2 big fights with this villain, and I think we're missing from this trailer almost the entire second act. I think the way this is going to work is we get re-establish the world, everything's happy, new gem comes, absolutely owns them, destroys them, like just makes a mess of all of them. And I think that might even be where the Alexandrite shot comes from. Maybe. No, I'm not sure about that one, actually, because I'm looking at the sky and it's really dark. No, forget that. But I think a lot of the shots, a handful of the shots are from that first battle. But I think they get absolutely destroyed and escape. Then I think they end up on home. I think they might go to Homeworld and have a middle act on Homeworld. We know that the diamonds are involved somehow in this because the voice cast is given that game away.
I was going to say, that'd be a good way to get the diamonds in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so I think they have to go back to Homeworld to regroup, and at that point, they then figure out what in the world is going on, and how to stop it, and then they go back, and that's where a lot of the end game, darker fight stuff is coming from. But the shot of him with his shield 24, that one is clearly from earlier in the movie too, because again, it's the lighter sky. It's like dusk. It's like
It's
this
a lighter sky. Yeah, I think you might be right. And then he looks almost slightly less dishevelled in some of those shots.
Yeah, I think he looks less dishevelled in the shots from there than in the shots where it's clearly later in the movie. But like the shot, a couple from that, there's one of like the town being destroyed, and there's a shot of it's the four of them in a big crater, and she's leaping at them. And Steven his eyes look so baggy in that shot. It's horrible. Like, he looks really roughed up in that shot. That's, I think, from later in the movie.
They've done it a few times, like Tired Steven, but you're right, they really are playing on it here.
Yeah, it's a big part of this trailer.
What is happening?
Yeah, again, I think there's something about this process is really screwing him up. I don't know what. Still no reveal on the name of the villain or the voice actress. I'm still leaning to Tara Strong because it sounds like Tara Strong. I hope it is. She's great, and she's never been in this show, and she's been in every other fucking show on the planet, so I don't see why not. Put her in Steven Universe as well. She's everything else. She's great. She's a wonderful voice actress, and I'd be thrilled that she joined the Steven Universe of us.
Yeah. Was that you referenced earlier a theory about that? That's your theory on who plays her, then, yeah?
Yes. Was that what I referenced earlier? I had a theory on who plays her.
I think you said something like we'll get if she's singing or something. We'll get to that later. Maybe I'm wrong.
It might come up because it might be in the pictures. There might be a. Oh, it might have been my theory about, not my theory, the theory about what she was up to, what her plan was. I was referring to. Yeah. And there's lots of nice shots of the gang being lovey and very happy. There's a really good one. I'll put it on screen for listeners now of them like sort of all like hugged together. It's 29 for you, Chris, and then in the top left corner, green, which means I think that might be post battle. That might be we've just beat the baddie moment.
Or a reunion in like the dome. Oh no, maybe.
Yeah. Then we got a shot from earlier in the movie, and it's Bismuth, Peridot, and Lapis having a good cuddle. Bless them, looking happy as Larry. Bismuth's got a slightly different design as well, I've noticed. Do you think Bismuth's been poofed, maybe?
But we didn't see her poofed or anything, did we?
No. I suppose gems theoretically can change their appearance at will, theoretically. So maybe.
The more I look at 29, I don't know, because Steven doesn't look that haggard. I don't know if that's not early in the movie.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say with that one. That one's less clear, I think, where it belongs in the. But I do think that little speck of green in the sky and the pink on the other side suggests it's. I can't see them being that happy mid-battle, so.
No, but I don't know if that's like them reuniting. They've all been on a different planet maybe at the beginning, so that's them reuniting in the town or something.
Yeah, maybe, but that seems to be post Bad Gem showing up and doing shit though, based on the color of the sky and the pink chaos on the other side. You can see sort of like what looks like a river of the liquid, maybe just over Pearl's shoulder.
Yeah, I suppose those earlier scenes, like we do see a lot of green and pink, don't we, on like the earlier images and stuff.
When they're in the crater, it's pinks and greens as well, and that's when they fuse. Or maybe that hug leads to them fusing into Alexandrite from the shot before. Maybe those two shots are the wrong way around, because we have got them forming Alexandrite. Oh no, because Alexandrite wouldn't be. No, that would be Obsidian, wouldn't it? Alexandrite's just the three of them, minus Steven. No, I don't know then. I really don't know. Then the one that blew my mind and made me the most excited of all these shots is the one just after the Lapis and Bismuth one, Chris. It's the Pearl Amethyst one. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, does that not look like they're about to fuse?
Yeah, it does, and it looks like they're like flying through like a warp paddy type environment as well, which is cool.
Yeah, could be. It's either them falling from a great height and they fuse as they're falling to survive the fall, which would be amazing if they just land as Opal, or you're right, they're like warping somewhere at the time. I'm on board either way. I think that looks fucking great.
Like, they've both got their eyes closed. They're clearly in sync. Yeah,
they're holding hands. They're glowing. Yeah, I think Opal is a very likely scenario. And since Amy Mann came in to help work on the music, it makes so much sense. We've talked about it already, but yeah, on board. Then the shot we've got here. This one's just interesting because there's been some. I had a theory that this is the warehouse. We're finally getting an external shot of the famous warehouse that's been used so many times in the show. The wrestling episodes were all set there. Sadie Killer and the Suspects played there. There is actually what looks like a Sadie Killer poster on the wall of this, if you zoom it in. And it's Delmarva Distribution Center, which is, distribution center is a fancy word for a warehouse, isn't it? So it sounds like it's possible that abandoned warehouse that we've seen is no longer abandoned in the 2-year time skip. And for some reason, it's glowing from the inside. I can't think of any reason why, but maybe someone's fusing inside.
Maybe those two shots are close together, and that's Opal landing in the warehouse and fusing. Maybe.
Oh, that would be so cool. Yeah, good shout, Chris. Yeah, you might be right. That might be Amethyst and Pearl crash through the roof and then fuse inside. I would love that. Good theory. Very good theory. I'm not certain it's the warehouse because there are some things that don't look quite right about it. Like, there are some square windows on this one, but there are also some rounded ones. The rounded ones look more like the warehouse we know. Obviously, there's no hole on the side, but that could have been repaired in the 2-year time skip. So I don't know. I think it's possible it's the warehouse that we've seen in the show a bunch of times, but never seen on the outside. Then there's one of my favorite shots. Holy hell. Steven leaping through the air in front of the moon, looking glorious. Mid-song, probably.
Definitely. Mid-song was my first thought when I saw this shot.
Yeah, and I think as well...
Without a doubt, that's mid-song.
Yeah, but also maybe finally back together and whole. Maybe whatever... Maybe this is him at full power again. Like, he's been weak and, powerless all movie, and then he finally is... This is a glorious back to form Steven. Like, he's, whatever was sapped from him has returned, and he's leaping into the sky and floating and happy, and because he still looks pretty disheveled. He's got a big cut across his shirt, I've noticed. So he doesn't look like he would have enough energy to jump into the air like that at any other point in the end game of the movie. So certainly that's what that suggests to me.
Unless the things coming out of it are because it's an alien moon on an alien planet, and it's at the beginning, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's at the beginning for that reason.
It could be, but what about the slash on his shirt? He doesn't have that in any other shot in the movie.
Yeah, I suppose, but...
Oh, he does. He has that in the crater. In the crater, but when he's in the crater and he looks tired, he's got it. But when he looks happy...
He doesn't look tired there.
No, but when you go back through the shots to when he looks not tired, in the earlier stuff, he doesn't have the cut on his shirt.
Yeah.
So in the early shots, the shots of him happy and with the guys, no cut on the shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's got to be after he's exhausted.
I just don't know what would make the tiredness around his eyes disappear.
Yeah,
unless, it's him coming back together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly where I got that theory from. Was that he doesn't look tired.
I really hope they don't have him defuse again, personally.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting it's that. I think there's some other weird gem thing going on that he stops.
Yeah, it's draining him in some way. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they'll defuse him again. I think that's
you can't create a new diamond without destroying the old diamond, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's more likely, I think. The shot of Steven and Greg playing guitar is just, but they both look very determined and very serious rather than they're having fun. So I do think there's a chance that's a fusion. Someone had a really neat idea, actually. I wish I could credit them, but I cannot remember who said it. But I suggested that. And someone said, wouldn't it be cool if a Steven and Greg fusion is just a giant Steven or a giant Greg? The same way that when rubies fuse, they're just a bigger ruby.
Yeah, that would be cool.
The idea that Steven and Greg are so similar. Steven and Greg are so similar that the fusion of the two of them is pretty much just a big version of them.
That would be cool.
I'd love that.
Universe Greg.
Yeah, I love it. Amethyst and Steven having a good old teary hug. I think that's him coming back to. I think that's him coming back first time from.
I don't know, the pink hue in the sky. I thought that might be towards the end.
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, all the.
I'd be gutted if there are just scenes of the celebration in this. Scenes of the celebration of them winning in the trailer seems a bit,
Yeah.
Although, what was it? Was it like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 or something that literally the trailer showed shots from the final moment of the movie?
Yeah, the shot of him swinging it around, which is literally the end of the movie. They had that in the trailer, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's not much to say about that shot. I think that's probably him being reunited with Amethyst early in the movie. I think.
Yeah,
just
that's
because
fair. That's a better, yeah.
Because the sky's so light. Whereas the final battle seems to take place at night. But yeah, either one is possible. I don't think either is out of reach. Then there's the shot of the Connie kiss, and I've put two stills of that. One of the kissing him, and the one of his just dumbfounded face afterwards. I think both are amazing.
It certainly implies a romance, at least from Steven to Connie, a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I think
I'm not against. I just know a few people are.
No, I'm on board with it. I was just resigned myself to it never happening. So I'm kind of happy. I'm glad. I want them to do that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a good storyline. I think it's an interesting storyline. So yeah. And then another favorite shot, just the visual of it's beautiful, and it's the frame from the poster, but them all singing on the. Oh well, you assume singing on the hill. Again,
yeah, that's a nice shot.
Probably early in the movie.
Yeah,
maybe even the final glorious moment of the "This is how far we've come," sort of like "Here we are in the future" song. So there you go. And then what else?
I thought that was quite joyous. What do you think's going on in this final one then of Steven?
Disheveled Steven climbing the injector. It looks like. And then there's a shot of him clenching his fist, and then there's the reveal of him. On the top of the injector, looks like he's standing down our evil gem. I think that's him finally facing off with her.
Yeah. Here's Captain America facing an army moment.
Yeah. Before he regains whatever strength he has. I think that's him going up there, battered, beaten, tired, not himself, in the face of all those odds.
To give in.
Yeah, and then whatever happens on the top of that gem, I think that's when he gets his essence, his power, whatever back, and that's when we have the shot of him leaping into the sky in front of the moon. I think, if I'm theorizing, if I'm playing.
No, I think that's a strong theory that's putting the pieces of this puzzle together.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a really good trailer. I suppose we should on that first.
Yeah.
But overall, how do you feel about the trailer? I mean, it has a real tone to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought it felt incredibly cinematic, and I think they said that as well in the panel, which was really exciting. Yes. I think it really looks like it could justify the movie musical format. Yeah, I thought it feels like a 90-minute story as well. It does not feel like 5 or whatever episodes strapped together. I think this is going to be a really cohesive movie. Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, and sorry for listeners on the podcast version of this. If you want to know, I mean, you probably know which shots we're referring to, but if you want to go look at them in closer, go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/nothingbutstaticuk to watch the video version of this while I'll line up the shots I'm referring to as we're talking about them. It's going to be the reason this probably ends up being a day or two later than it normally would be in terms of release, but it'll be worth it, I think, so that people aren't completely confused about what we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, like it's a great trailer. So let's round this off with some talk about the other bits they've announced. So the other quick thing they announced was that in the weekend prior to this on Cartoon Network, we're getting an Every Steven Ever marathon. I guess I don't really need to explain what that will be, but it's good. I mean, they're going to air every Steven universe ever in the build up to the
one weekend.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that going to be like, 9 till 9, or is that 24 hours?
It's got to be 9 till 9, right? Or like 9 till 6 or something like that every day for 3 days. Yeah. I've not done the math on that yet and how long it would take, but it looks like it's going to be 3 days because the movie has on the Monday, I think, and I think from the Saturday morning through the Sunday morning through till Monday morning and then through to the movie itself.
Wow.
So yeah.
That'll be that thing. People will know. I don't think anyone will watch. Well, maybe, but I'd be surprised if anyone watched all of it. That'll be that one of those things. Like, didn't they do it? I think they did it with Power Rangers in the like Twitch did it maybe or something. And people were just like, "Oh, this episode airs at this time. The Green Ranger saga's at this time." I think that'd be one of those things where people are like, "Oh, Reunited's this time, Jailbreak is this time," that sort of thing.
And I think there'll be people who'll just
say Uncle is irrelevant when that shit is airing. No,
I think it'll be one of those things where people dip in and out of it based on like timings. Yeah. Just like it'll be oh, I'm free for half an hour. I'll just see what they're airing now. I think that's a fun idea, and I think it'll help create awareness because you'll turn it on, and be like, "What? Steven Universe is on all day." You'd be like, "Why?" You'd be like, "Oh, there's a movie." They'll be promoting the movie ad nauseum throughout that, and it'll help sell it. And then give anyone a chance to catch up who doesn't know what the fuck the show is. It's a neat little idea.
I mean, every episode over 3 days is the most consistent scheduling they've ever done. So, fair play.
That's true. So depressing. The other thing, obviously, they've announced is the documentary, the making of. It's going to be an hour long. Chris. And it's coming with the digital download of the movie. If you buy that, it's going to come with the DVD of the movie. They've still not announced a Blu-ray. That worries me slightly. But the whatever format you buy the movie on, you'll get this hour-long documentary with it. No word on whether the documentary will air on TV with or after the movie. Just that it's going to come with purchases of it. So that might be their incentive to make you go buy it once you've watched it for free on television.
It'd be good for us if it was separate. Then we could do a whole separate episode based on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an hour long. We'll do a separate episode based on that. And we'll, the other thing, obviously the soundtrack's coming out as well alongside it. And then, of course, there was a separate interview done with Rebecca Sugar at the con, where she was just talking about the challenge of making it, and she casually said, we had to put a lot of work into Mr. Greg, and this is 8 Mr. Gregs. Okay, I think she just confirmed it's a 90. I think that means it's a 90-minute movie, Chris, is what that means.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah, I see what you mean. Right, I thought you meant animating the character. Right, yeah, I remember now from the panel when she said that. Yeah, I definitely went, oh, it's 90 minutes then, is it? Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that wasn't in the panel. It was in a separate Q&A that was done. That was on some random YouTube channel. I was linked to. I'll try and link it below if I remember.
I thought she said something similar in the panel. But
did she? She might have done. But yeah.
Maybe I think she said. I think she was talking about Change Your Mind, and then was like, and this is because she's talking about how Change Your Mind was such a big story, and then they went into something that was double the length of that, which is how I got to 90 minutes.
Right.
What she says in the panel, I think.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, separate to that, she described it as 8 Mr. Gregs, and 8 Mr. Gregs would be a 90-minute movie because it's an 11-minute episode. So yeah, 90 minutes is pretty much the timing now, or something between 80 and 90 for sure, which is great. I was really worried we were gonna get shortchanged on this. And for all the work that's being put into it, I really wanted it to be nice and long. Also, the amount of time we've waited for it. God, I'm hankering.
Well, there's something else they announced that we've not said. I assume everyone listening knows this, but technically we've not mentioned it.
Have I forgotten something amongst all the announcements?
Something big we've not technically mentioned. It airs on September the 2nd, 6 p.m.
Oh, the date. Yeah, the date. Yeah, that was going to be my next thing, but I thought you were saying there was another thing they'd announced. I was like, wait, the documentary?
Oh, no. I thought you'd wrapped up. Yeah, they announced the date.
Yeah, no, so the date, September 2nd, which is great for me because September 2nd at 6 o'clock in US time is about 1 a.m. on September 3rd UK time, which is about an hour into my birthday.
Oh, nice. Happy birthday, Daniel.
Well, it will be. It'll be a fucking great happy birthday. I'll be tired for most of it because I'll have stayed up watching this fucking shit the night before. No, I'm kidding. But I am definitely staying up and watching this live if I can. I'm so excited. Yeah. Looks great. Can't wait. Very excited. I'm gonna try and book the next day off. That's the saddest thing I've ever said. But it'll be my birthday anyway. Of course, I'm gonna book that day off. It's my birthday. I've just realised. Yeah, of course.
What day of the week is that for us then?
I think it's a Tuesday, isn't it? No, it's not. It's a Monday. It's a Monday evening. It's like Monday at like 1 a.m.
Okay.
Going into Tuesday.
Yeah.
So you'll have to book the day off work as well, Chris. At least I've got an
I can
excuse.
see if-
When I book it off, my work say why. The excuse I can use to not be like, I'm going to watch a kids' cartoon at 1 a.m. in the morning as it airs live. I get to say it's my birthday, and that's why. I don't know what
Mate,
you're
the amount
going.
of times
I don't know
I've
what
just
you're
been
going to
honest.
say.
People at work were like, how come you, the other month, people at work were like, oh, how come you got tomorrow off? And I was literally like, I'm doing a podcast about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Amazing.
So I got
No shame.
I got no qualms.
The other thing, actually, I wanted to very quickly mention, Infinity Train had some presence at Comic Con as well, and they actually streamed the first episode online, and it's fucking great. So anyone who was hyped about Infinity Train, get more hyped. No word yet on if it's I was convinced it was a full series, but they've now said it's going to air over 5 nights, 2 episodes a night in a very over the garden wall style release, which makes me think it's a mini-series, which will be the first mini-series I think they've done since Over the Garden Wall, which I'm very excited about, but I'm also a little bit sad about because I was always under the impression Infinity Train, when it finally arrived, would be a full show. So we'll see. Unless maybe they've answered that question somewhere and I've just not been on the ball with it, but I'll be sad if that's the case because I think it looks fucking brilliant, and the first episode, all 11 glorious minutes of it were incredible. Stay tuned for Infinity Train University in 6 months' time.
I have no idea what that is, but if it's only 5 episodes, we can make it hiatus content. Fine.
Yeah, it's 10 episodes. It'll be 2 10-minute episodes a night for 5 nights. It'll be like so it's over the garden wall length basically.
Yeah.
But like the first episode's glorious. So what I might do if I can't figure out a way to do anything else, I might just do like little 10-minute like recaps of each episode and some vague thoughts for the channel as it airs.
Yeah.
If I have the time, we'll see. But yeah. Cool. There you go.
Fair play. There we go. Mammoth movie episode.
Yeah, lots of like looking at the shots, but I think we covered everything.
We could. I don't want to commit now, because we will have to see, and I don't know for sure I'll be able to get the time off. It depends if anyone else is off. But it would be good, like, for us, if we did watch it together at the same time and did an immediate reactions podcast, and then a week later did the dust has settled, we've been able to see what other people think reaction podcast.
That's a really neat idea. We're pushing the bar out here, Chris, but if we were in the same place, we could do the thing we did for the 100th episode of not 100th, the 175th, the Statics, and do it live.
Yeah. Well, that was certainly doing it in the same place was part of my thinking, but we'll have to, I'll check the work schedule. We'll see if we can make that work. Because
that would be...
Although, do you really want to film ourselves at like 2 a.m. fucking looking all warm, no doubt, PJ'd up?
It'd be great. Oh, come on, it'd be fantastic. I'm on board.
We should get Steven University pajamas. We'll never get Steven University pajamas that will fit us, but still.
Yeah, we can do. Oh, we'll call it Talking Universe, and we'll do it. We'll frame it like a real after show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great.
Anyway.
Well, there you go. We literally, that's been discussed on the podcast. That was probably an error. We're probably going to get asked to do that now, but no promises. We'll see if that's a possibility. It's a neat idea there.
No, if we can make that work, we will absolutely do it. But we need to check whether we can make it work first.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Cool.
There you go.
Thanks very much, everyone, for your time
Cracking.
and efforts to sit through this with us. Hopefully, it wasn't too painful. I'm so excited. This is turned my excitement up to 11 for sure.
Yeah, I agree completely. I thought it was a really great trailer, really good panel. I'm pumped.
Me too. Today we'll leave you with that. Thanks very much for listening.
And a lot of the other Comic Con stuff, Snowpiercer trailer, His Dark Materials trailer, again, all that shit discussed on the next MBS. So check that out if you want to know our thoughts on all of that stuff.
All the Marvel stuff too, lots of that. So yeah.
Dan, I got a little preview of that. I think Dan's got opinions on that. So
I've got some strong opinions on the Marvel trailer, on the Marvel panel. So let's come back to that. Go to iTunes or wherever you normally get your podcasts from, and find nothing but static and listen to our next episode. It'll be out on Sunday. I will probably just call it Comic Con stuff or something in that vein, so it's clear which episode it is.
Assuming you're free to record Saturday morning, which we've not discussed yet, but hopefully Sunday.
Yeah, hopefully Sunday. There is an alternate plan I've come up with.
Okay, cool.
But we've not discussed it, so we'll do that next. Not on mic though.
Cool.
Thanks for listening. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll see you next week for another edition of Stephen University. Oh, when a difficult day goes by, keeping it together is hard, but that's why you've got to try, you've got to try. And when there's a thundering storm outside, underneath the covers you huddle and hide. Open your eyes, open your eyes. It's the truth, it's the truth, it's the truth kind of love. It's the truth, it's the truth, it's the truth kind of love. Spin in the middle of fear and shame. Everybody's looking for someone to blame. Like it's a game, like it's a game. And now I am better than win or lose. There's a new direction that I'd like to choose. It's called the truth, it's called the truth. It's the truth, it's the truth, it's the truth kind of love. It's the truth, it's the truth, it's the truth kind of love. Hey you, show me that solvable problem. We can get through this, I'll do the hardest part with you. It's the truth, it's the truth, it's the truth kind of love. It's the truth, it's the truth.